and just having these guys on the field so that the pass game can continue to be a threat.
Yeah, so when you see out of 60 plays and Will Mallory was on the field for, what we're saying, an average, and might not be the exact total, 40. So those guys are basically telling you, and Miami is telling you, that they're what is known as a 12-set team. 12-set personnel means one running back, two tight ends. And they just provide the mismatch nightmares. Now, Brevin Jordan ended up scoring, and this is what your tight ends in that set can do, and this is what they have been doing. You look at Brevin Jordan's touchdown. It was a kind of a coverage bust. Once again, a play where they didn't use a safety. Brevin Jordan, they use a check with me variety, meaning they look over to Rhett Lashley. He sees what he can. He sees it materialize, and it's an easy chunk touchdown. Put the game away. He was lined up out as a slot receiver. And then you turn around and you look at Will Mallory's touchdown from a tight end. He's in your traditional inline capacity. He's directly in line. They run a nice play action pass off it. He sells a block. He gets into space. He finds a seam. He gets away from his defender and he scores. And then you have some other plays too, where it's just now you have both tight ends in line. You've been successful where both Brevin Jordan and, Will Mallory are lined up as tight ends. Then you have Brevin Jordan. He'll come back in an H-back capacity sometimes. Sometimes you have Will Mallory come back in an H-back capacity. It's just one of those hard things for defenses, boys, because you got to decide like what you want to combat that with, okay? And this is the advantage Miami's going to have. Do you want to keep like what we do in our 4-2-5 with a lighter striker, and then you want to get your lighter striker maybe on Will Mallory, and maybe Will Mallory can block you a little bit better? Maybe he's got the height advantage inside the red zone. Or do you want to do your traditional like 4-3 defense and have your linebacker come in? So if you want to play small, Miami showed you week one, we can kind of come inside the box with our two tight ends because, in that fourth, go back to the UAB game, that one of the key blocks on that was Will Mallory in line. He kicked out his defensive end, and, Cam Harris took one of his exceptionally long runs, the first one against UAB, to the house, 65 yards, I believe that was, to the house. Will Mallory, and a great block. You also are getting some of these plays on the perimeter, some of these bubble screens that are going for first downs. Yep, there you go. Brevin Jordan blocking again because he's got the size advantage on some of these kids. So it's a very, very tough nightmare, and I don't think Miami's going to get away from it. I think that's where they know that they have a lot of advantage on the field. So I'm not – you got to remember too, New England Patriots, yes, they won. They won with, they almost had an undefeated season. They had that crazy play that happened. They were a spread up tempo team. They were like Big 12 country, right? Mm-hmm. Then they turn around and they win a national championship when they had two tight ends in, Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. So, Miami's kind of like hybriding it both. They're running an up tempo spread variety, but they have the two tight ends. So the advantage that the two tight ends is giving you and the up tempo spread, it's very hard for these teams to contend with. And guys, the thing that excites me is that the fact, and it's early, but by week 3 and week 4, with Rick the first year in the I Write Football, and then Enos after, Central Michigan came in, I'm like, ooh, that's a problem how they ended up playing us. You kind of started to see some of the writings on the wall before the quagmire even started, right? You started seeing what defenses started to try to do, and Miami just couldn't get out of its own way, and it would struggle, lose some games. Coming out of the first 2 games, and I'm curious after, week 4 after Clemson, I want to see what teams do to stop this, because right now, using my little brain, I can't figure it out, because like Miami just can come at you in different ways right now, and I want to see how the defenses combat this. I want to see what they're going to do, because they're going to try. And when you turn around week 1 and week 2, just put up those kind of performances while still being quote unquote sluggish. Ooh, this is going to be a special offense this year for the Miami Hurricanes. After 2 games, especially going on the road the way you did against Louisville, putting up 47 and leaving points on the board. Ooh, and I'm telling you right now, I think we're going to have our way with Florida State too. So I don't want to jump the gun, but I see 3-0 in our future.
That's a mess in Tallahassee, boy.
Oh my goodness, my goodness.
Even those little like practice clips that they post on Twitter and stuff, and it looks like me. Like they're doing cone drills and stuff, and it's like, is that a college football player doing that?
Yeah, absolutely right. No, they they admittedly they're in bad shape. I didn't even think you could take a loss on a bye week, but then their coach gets COVID, so I guess that constitutes as a loss too, right? I don't know. Well, I don't want to wish him ill will. Get good luck. Yeah, there you go.
Well,
hopefully heal up, young man.
I think that was planned because they're not playing the Gators this year, and so as big of a mess as Norville has created in Tallahassee, he can go into the offseason saying that he hasn't lost to a rival team yet. So.
And you know what? The line jumped again. I think it's getting up to 10.5, 11 now. So I mean, you gotta see that maybe the pundits are seeing it the same way we are. It's just, that's another program. They just thought after Jimbo and having a number one quarterback in Jameis Winston, it's like they think that number one quarterbacks just fall off trees.
Yeah.
And that Jimbo recruiters are everywhere. No, take it from a Miami fan. Yeah, number one quarterbacks don't fall off trees, and going ahead and recruiting in the top 5 is an art form in itself. Not everybody can do it. So here you go, looking at the 2021 class, excuse me. You essentially see a situation where that class that's a heavy laden 3-star class. And that reminded me of a lot of Al Golden, because Al Golden got a lot of 3 stars, couldn't get the blue chip talent there. And that's exactly what Florida State's class is looking like. So you're in for a rough couple years, Tallahassee. But take it from a Miami fan who went through it. Suck it. That's all I need to say.
Now, the coaches, when you get a guy like De'Aaron King, and it's sad if he's only going to be here for 1 year or whatever, but I'll take it. How obvious is it to the coaches, like, that he's got it? That when you see it, you know it, and you're like, oh, we got a real one now. Versus what we've been dealing with, like, all these kids come in with huge star numbers, and like take the quarterback from last year, the Jaron Williams kid, and the tall kid that's the second stringer. What's his name?
Van Dyke or Cozy?
Jack Allison?
Cozy.
Oh, N'Kosi Perry.
N'Kosi Perry and stuff, and you like both of them had so much immaturity. Mm-hmm. That you just see, like, I'm not saying, De'Aaron King's not going to get in trouble or anything, but I just don't see him doing the music video with the cash in his lap or Snapchat nudes or any of this other stuff. And it's got to be such a relief for the coaches to get the kid De'Aaron King, and then the first day of practice being like, we got him. We got a real guy now.
You know what, Duck, you bring up an interesting point, and it kind of, when I look at high school kids on film, and that's kind of how it all started for me, because it was just, it was just a hobby. It was just fun. Yeah. I was just like, I loved the position. I liked playing it when I played it. And I was like, yeah, let me just go over here and see what they see. And, you could take a guy and he just checks all the boxes, right? He's accurate. He's got an arm. He can run. And you give him a 4-star. You might even give him a 5-star. But it doesn't matter if the kid is just 1-star heart or 1-star head, because it's just never going to matter. You're not going to get the respect of your team. You're not going to earn the right to be called a leader. And if you can't stay on the field because you can't keep from being like, a liability in terms of, are you going to actually play this week because you're going to be suspended, then what's it for? So it's like there's a lot of times, if I've ever taken flack for like missing on a quarterback or something, it always comes down to the part where it's just the things that you can't see on film. It's like the kid gets gun shy when the bullets fly, or, when it hits the fan, what kind of person is he? Is he the one that's going to go ahead and shift the blame to other? Because, as men too, right? Do we like that? The guy that never takes fault and ownership for what he did? Oh, it was the offensive line's fault. Well, if I would have had time. Well, if the wide receiver didn't drop, didn't drop the ball. That's not how it works. That's like, we don't operate that way. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, hey, it's on me. I got to play better. Even though the truth. Your wide receivers just dropped 6 balls, right? You know that they did. But what does De'Aaron King say? He says, we left too many plays on the field. We're not happy. We need to get better. What are you, nuts? It's 47 points. The Hurricanes fans are ecstatic that you put up 47 points. Yep. But they're not happy. And we're happy that they're not happy. And that stems from De'Aaron King. I promise you that stems from De'Aaron King. And that's the thing that Miami, you got to put the ownership there. You got to make sure that these kids just have it in the head and the heart. No more taking one star heart and 1-star heads, man. It does not matter. You got to have that leader. And it's good because a leader like Derek King, even though he could be here one season, he's going to be granted another year next year, but as of right now, if you ask me, gut instinct, what does he need to prove? He's proving it this year. If he goes ahead and has a really good season, just go ahead and take your chances, young man. And with the loss of his father, he's probably got something even more to prove. And at this level, I don't see what is left in the store. I could be wrong, but if you ask me, but here's the good news. Derek King is such a special kid. I think even after he's gone, he's going to permeate through the program because like you said, Duck, he just showed you what the quarterback room is supposed to look like, right? He showed you the work ethic. He showed you the leadership. He showed you get these touchdown rings out of here. He showed you, no. There's always more. There's always better. So I think the Derek King effect could potentially be here a lot longer than just this year.
Yeah. I hope so. Well, I got one last question for you, Ro. So I know we talked to you a lot in the offseason about what to expect with the Rhett Lashley offense, and now we have a 2-game sample size. So I'd like you to just give us like a brief summary, kind of put a neat bow on a review in terms of how is it different than what you expected, how is it the same as what you expected, and what are you excited for the rest of the season, if that makes sense. It doesn't need to be too long, but just I guess put a nice bow on it.
I think it's exactly what I envisioned. I really do. That's the neat bow. I just think you see what I kind of saw in him as a play caller, and the reason why I favored him. And before there was any announcement, this is the reason why he was my guy, because he showed at SMU he could do more with less. And Miami's done less with more talent in I don't know how long. So you needed somebody to counteract that. So I knew he was a type of guy who was going to take, ultimately, if you're going to give him something, he's going to take it, and he's going to keep taking it until you change. He did that week 1 with the running game. You don't want to change. We're going to keep running it. And then with Louisville, you want to keep giving me this look with 0 safeties over the top? I'm going to keep taking it. And I think that's what's going to happen throughout the rest of the year. I think that's the pretty little bow. Just sit back and relax. He's not going to die on a particular hill. He's just going to adapt. He's going to move, and he's got a feel for the game. And in closing on it too, he is a field coordinator. Like, he's on the field. It's not all analytical driven with him. So it's good in a way, because when you're not that analytical driven, the analytical monster on the other side who has your tendencies can't go ahead and find yours, because he'll just feel it, he'll see it, he'll find it. And just enjoy it. Enjoy it. It was long overdue. This was an offensive parch job for years. And now we have a situation where we can all drink happily and just know that we have an offense that can score, because it has, and I think it can continue to score.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. I mean, we always love to hear your analysis. I'd call it expert analysis. It's
and I'll fight you on that.
Well, I mean, dude, it's more than I'll ever know about football. So we appreciate having you on the Fours Up podcast. I think you really bring an element, that we're not able to give. So thank you so much, man. And make sure everyone's checking out the Orange Bowl boys. I know you guys already know about them, but yeah, I mean, we just appreciate you guys. So anyways, take care, man. Thank you for coming on.
Fours Up, baby. Let's go.
Take care, bro.
Cool. Well, that was amazing, man.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Yeah. So, I mean, are you surprised with how much we're running the ball? Because I know a lot of people thought Rhett Lashley would equate to more of an air raid just because of his time at SMU, with Sonny Dykes. But I actually kind of pegged him as a power run guy, so that's why I was excited. I'm kind of with you, like the South Florida, like high school, programs. They put out such talented athletes. I'm thinking, why get a system where it relies on quarterback play when our strength has always been our running back room? And
I mean, just thinking back to the arrogance or stubbornness of the D'Onofrio thing,
Yeah.
And then like the Rick thing with his son and stuff, and you just like, I mean, I don't know. Like, part of me thinks that if all of a sudden I got hired by the University of Miami and I could name my offensive coordinator, so I'm going to bring in Rowe, and whatever, it doesn't work, right? And me and Rowe are boys, and he's making a few $100,000 a year, and I'm making $1 million a year or whatever, and I'm like, we're going to do this until they fire us. Like, I've had jobs like that where you're like, I can't fix it. But as long as I'm not getting fired, I'm showing back up the next day and doing the same, what I know how to do.
Yeah.
And